Hey, JD, happy Halloween.
Good morning. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So what are you dressed up as today?
Oh, me? Well, take a guess.
Well, I mean, I know, so it's not cheating, but you're dressed up as Gandalf.
Gandalf the Grey.
Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah, I kind of dressed up. I actually did the rest of the outfit also, but I dyed a white kind of robe thing, and it turned purple. And so it's still in process.
But then you be Gandalf the purple and not Gandalf the Grey, and we don't want that.
Yeah, that's awful.
Like royal.
Gandalf the purple.
Gandalf the purple.
And what are you?
I'm just a boxer. So
A boxer. You're a champion boxer.
Yes, I'm a champion, as you can tell right here. Champion boxer.
It's a very nice outfit.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yep. Did it, or Megan did it for me.
Yeah, and you actually do kind of like to box. Huh?
Yeah, I've done boxing, MMA. I love it. So not as much anymore because Megan doesn't like me getting hit, but I love it. And I used to box.
Right, and you look pretty good for all the times you've taken shots.
Oh, thank you.
You look like you've handled that pretty well.
I
Recovered
appreciate that.
nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it ever seems like there's some marbles loose, that's why.
Yeah.
He's pointing. Your mouth. So what are we talking about today? There we go.
That's rough. So I'm gonna put my mustache down so I can sip a coffee. We're gonna talk about Halloween today.
Yeah.
So how was yesterday though? Before we get there, Sunday.
It was really good. So it was the last sermon series of our Christianity 101, Christianity 201, and we talked about the church and really an emphasis on doing life together and on small groups. And as a church, Skyrocket, we're a baby church. We really, I really want this whole next year to really just dive in and focus on small groups.
Yeah.
And so this was sort of like, and I loved this sermon series because I love, the basic foundation layers of what it means to follow Jesus. So it was just a great service. I was excited to preach it because I'm like, this is what I sort of want to sort of help set the tone for our next year, is focusing on doing life together and being present in our community and doing small groups. And so it was a great wrap up.
Yeah.
How was it here?
Well, when you think about it, your church, Skyrocket's 1 year old. Mm-hmm. And so that's so appropriate to teach a church what it is to be the church. That's so important. Yeah, we did similar theme, talked about the church, but I was really more practical and specific. And I used the same passage as you used. And yet, I only got the first two verses.
Yeah. It's a packed passage.
It is.
It's absolutely packed. Yeah.
Yeah. So Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. And then I pulled in a bunch of other stuff too, but really focused on what does it mean to be a living sacrifice, and then, that's really... that's the 201 level, but if you want to change, to grow, to become something new, to reach that 201 level, what does that look like? And so that's what we unpacked. We had a baptism service at the end, and that was really great.
Those are awesome.
It was a good day.
Was the water warm?
The water was warm.
There you go. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, thank you to Rick Maxwell. The water was warm. Actually, it was not warm on Thursday when we put it in. And then I called Rick, and he came out, and he gets underneath the tank, and he took something and just tapped the pump. And the pump had stopped pumping. And once that pump started pumping again, just tapped it.
Going.
And
that's awesome.
It was great. Yeah.
That's really cool.
It was warm. But you never forget, if you've been baptized in cold water, you always remember your baptism, right? So...
Yeah, and really looking forward to the next series. So,
how silly do I look right now? Can you even see my face? All right,
yeah. Ask the question: hey, who here feels like they're living day to day in survival mode? And almost every hand, and the room went up, and so that's what we're going to be talking about next series. So, really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and so I even did a little precursor. I looked at the values of our culture today, and contrasted that with. Some other things. But anyway, one of the great values in our culture is safety. Mm-hmm. But if we don't feel safe, then we can't really experience spiritual growth or really anything else in life. And so we're going to unpack that next series a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. And
I'm excited about it.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
For now, what's this all about? I don't know about you, but I grew up, my parents were okay with me dressing up.
Wait. Are you talking about Halloween?
I'm talking about Halloween. Yeah, because I was like, we got to address the elephant that's in the room here.
Yeah.
We're both dressed up.
Right.
my family was sort of on the edge about Halloween in the sense that they were like, no, you can't dress up as witches or ghosts, and that's
Sure.
bad. But you can dress up. I remember dressing up as a mechanic. One year I went as a nerd and I prepared like 20 corny jokes. And so instead of saying trick or treat, I would talk in a really high nerdy voice and say it was really bad. But so like nothing,
Do you remember any of the jokes?
No, I don't. So, no ghosts, no that, but it's okay. So my parents were sort of on the fence, and that's how I was raised. Were you raised in a family that celebrated Halloween, or were they against?
No, Halloween is one of those things that, my family, we always dressed up.
Mm-hmm.
My dad's a pastor also, or has been a pastor. So it's there's no doubt that the roots of Halloween are not good.
Yeah.
In they're pagan for sure. And yet, I remember there was elementary school, we had a parade, and you were supposed to wear your costume in the parade. I remember, 1 year I was a ghost, and all we did was take a white sheet and cut out eye holes, and I was a ghost. And 1 year I was a football player, and I wore a football helmet and some fake shoulder pads and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I was Captain America way back in the olden days.
Okay.
When Captain America was different.
Awesome.
So I probably am the one who started the Captain America craze.
That's why it came back.
Yeah.
So how do we process that? So you said, the roots of Halloween definitely aren't good. How do we process things like that where Halloween, obviously it's not a quote unquote Christian holiday,
Yeah. Right.
How are we allowed to be a part of culture, to celebrate things that our culture celebrates, even though it might not be rooted in our faith following Jesus?
I don't view it as celebrating Halloween, celebrating some cultural pagan holiday. Okay, so where did Halloween come from? Do you know any of the history?
I know a little bit. All that I know is almost every single holiday we celebrate is pagan, even Christmas. And so I feel like that's sort of like the card that you want to complain about Halloween. Christmas actually has much more pagan roots than it, but no. So all I know is it's pagan.
Okay. We got to be careful with what you just said about Christmas. All right. And the reason being, no, you're totally right in that, the time of the year that it was chosen to celebrate it in Christ Mass and all of that kind of stuff. But let's not talk about Christmas yet. Let's talk about Halloween.
We'll unpack that.
So Halloween it was celebrated by the Celtics, and they were Ireland, England, Northern France, the Celtic people, and their New Year started November 1st. And so, because it's at the end of summer and the harvest is finished, and so New Year then for them is going into the darkest time of the year, the long dark of Moria. That's a line from Lord of the Rings. Oh. Yeah. Anyway, the long dark of winter, and so I was in character for a second. I should have done this.
We should have done it all in character. That would have been funny.
We should have. But you'd have to talk with like a mouthpiece in.
No, I left my mouthpiece.
Yeah. So anyway, the Celtic people, they celebrated. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it wasn't called Halloween. But it was at the end of their summer and what they considered the new year, and then they would make bonfires, and they would sacrifice crops, and they would burn animals and that kind of thing. And they believed that this time of the year was the line between the living and the dead was the thinnest. Or have you ever heard of that?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. So the line between the living and the dead, it was blurry, and so ghosts of the dead, people who passed away, could actually come back there on October 31st, November 1, right in there. And so they lit bonfires. They put out all of the fires in their homes. They lit bonfires, and then they dressed up so that the ghosts wouldn't recognize them and stuff like that. So if you know ghosts are
Interesting.
coming back today, I don't want you to know that it's me. I'd
Yeah.
rather you think I'm some other weird thing.
Oh, that's Gandalf. I'm just gonna pass on by.
Yeah, just Gandalf. Yeah, I've seen him around. That's funny. Yeah, so there's definitely pagan influence. Well, it's not even influence. That's where it came from. But what we do, with dressing up on Halloween and passing out candy has nothing to do with any of that. And it's really there was a time that I was pretty much against Halloween. What about you?
Never really have been against it. Again, I think it's important to where, hey, am I going to go and start celebrating all this demonic stuff? Am I going to, embrace that more, the dark, the thinning of the veil, stuff where it might have faith issues. But I don't think I've ever been against dressing up or even being a part of these cultural traditions and holidays, because I think it's a big misconception to put Christianity as a cultural religion. Because that's not what it was ever meant to be. Jesus's first Christ followers were embedded in Judaism. Like they were Jews. That was their religion, and yet they were following this Jesus guy. And then the first converts after that, were Greeks, and they had their culture, and Greek culture is very different than Jewish culture. And that's part of the battle of the early church is, hey, we can follow Jesus, even though culturally we're very, very different. And so I think so I've never been against Halloween because to me, it's never been a matter of faith whatsoever. I don't think being a part of culture, God calls us to be in culture, not to be completely withdrawn from it.
Yeah, right.
But again, making sure that in our actions in culture that we're doing nothing to the contrary, of our faith of following Jesus. And if anything, enhancing it. So I think passing out candy, that can be a witness,
Sure.
Sure. And welcoming kids to the church, what we're doing in Prescott is partnering with a lot of great organizations like the school, the Lions Club, the Car Club, Vista Hermosa, to passing out candy to these kids. It's great. I don't think we should shy away from stuff like this. Just because it's a part of culture, it's not meant to be like that, like Christians over here and culture over there. So yeah, that's sort of been my perspective on it.
Yeah. So, we can redeem almost anything, right? Mm-hmm. There's almost anything.
Amen to that, because Jesus redeemed me, and I'm something.
Yeah, that's good.
Preach it.
Well, we can. So when you think about the old hymns that we've sung in the church for years and years, many of those old hymns were bar tunes that they took, and then they put Christian lyrics to the bar tunes, or even lyrics right out of the scripture to those bar tunes. Well, you could look at that and say, well, those that music is not good. It's wicked because it comes from the bar. But boy, you try to tell that to people who have sang those songs and that those words that have been added to it, and it has deep meaning to them, and so it's that music's been redeemed in a sense. And you mentioned Christmas, same thing. Yeah. Some of the traditions we have at Christmas, like the Christmas tree, and again, I don't want to go to Christmas necessarily, but that's like it's been redeemed. Mm-hmm. So. We did a few years ago. Was it 2020? Everything shut down, and we decided we were going to do. We've always done a harvest festival. We never called it Halloween, but it was always on Halloween. A harvest festival, harvest carnival here at the church, but it's always been inside. Well, in 2020, we couldn't do it inside, and everything was canceled all over town. There was nothing happening, and so we're like, let's just do a trunk or treat. And so we did a trunk or treat that year, and it was great. It was the only thing in town. Do you remember?
I remember it.
We ran out of candy like twice or two or three times.
Yep. Nate was in the church van just driving back, loading up with candy. It was crazy.
Yeah, he ended up spending over $1,000 in just buying more candy because we had no idea how many people would actually come. But it was an important thing to do because what it said to our community was we're thinking about you. It's been obviously 2020 was hard for every reason, but at least we were thinking about the kids and having a place to be, and so that was I think those kind of things can really matter. So.
And it matters a lot. And not being self-righteous, like, hey, we're gonna pull apart, but God meets us where we're at. And then if we're spreading the news of God, we're supposed to meet people where they're at. And that means dressing up, being in culture, doing what we have to do. So I'm all for it. I'm all for dressing up.
Yeah. I mean, so you guys, today you're not doing trunk or treat.
So we were doing trunk or treat, but I'm pretty confident it's going to be raining. So what we're going to be doing is there's already a plan to go inside, and then the first through fifth graders are going to parade through. But
is
we're
it
looking
inside
at
the church or is
inside the school?
Oh, it's inside the school.
It's going to be inside the school. And so we as the church, we're providing the candy.
Yes.
So a similar situation where we want to overestimate, because if we run out, we can't drive.
Yeah,
We're
you can't
driving
drive.
back. That's an hour.
Right.
So we got a ton of candy, and hopefully we're going to hand out to a few hundred kids. So we're looking forward to it. It's going to be an absolute blast.
Fantastic. So we originally planned to do here at Blue Mountain a trunk or treat also, but it is going to rain. It's like 90% chance of rain today. Actually, it's probably 100% since it's already raining. It's either going to rain or it's not, but it's going to rain. And so I think at this point, the latest thing I heard is it's still going to happen.
Still going to happen.
But it's going to be inside.
Okay.
It's not going to be trunk or treat. It's going to be table or treat. I don't know. Something like that. We're going to put it at tables. It's going to be great.
Hey, we'll have candy.
We'll have candy.
There you go.
We'll have candy. And, here's another funny thing about this event. What we found is years later, people say, I've come to your fall festival or they've come to some event here. And then in another time later on, they think about I would like to go to a church and stuff like that. And so that's what they tell us is, that's why we came here is because you did that. And so, we're not celebrating any thinning of the veil between life and death or, the end of the year and going into the long dark, all that kind of stuff. It's just a matter of our community is going to have kids out trick-or-treating, and we'd love nothing more than to provide them with a safe space. And then they sometimes not, you don't do it because they'll come back, but sometimes they do. And so that's a good thing. Yeah. Well, okay. So, boxing, have you watched any boxing lately?
Watched some boxing. Watched some MMA. Recently watched is tragic. Charles Oliveira lose. He's been one of my favorite fighters. Then recently watched the Jake Paul Anderson Silva, which is sort of like a circus match because they're not the best boxers, but they're famous. But
wait, Anderson Silva was a phenomenal boxer.
He was a phenomenal MMA fighter. So I grew up watching
MMA,
him.
you're right.
Crazy knockouts, my jaw on the floor as a kid watching him. So it was a little hard seeing him lose.
Yeah, seeing him lose to a YouTuber guy.
Yeah, but, he's actually not too shabby. So the YouTube guy, he's not great, but he's not a bad boxer. So it's definitely not fixed or anything like that. He's not bad.
Yeah.
But it was a little sad. But no, I'm not dressed up as him.
Well, we're gonna end a little bit early because I need to go and see if I can figure out how to turn my purple robe into gray.
Don't want Gandalf the purple.
That's the thing. I don't have like a magic wand. I don't think Gandalf had anything like that. He just had a big stick and a sword. Anyway, we got a little work to do before tonight, but yeah. So happy Halloween.
Yeah. We'll have a bunch of candy, whether it's at the Prescott School or here at Blue Mountain. So we're looking forward to it.
Come by either place, and it's from 4 to 6 here. Where is it?
It's going to be earlier 2:45.
2:45
at the Prescott School. Yeah. So this might not be out by then, but that's okay. We've been advertising on Facebook and on our website. So
very good. And then we start a new series at church.
Yep, survival mode, talking about, financial stress, what to do when you feel like you can't survive financially, can't survive day to day with food, home, mortgage, can't survive emotionally, you feel isolated, and, sort of building up that pyramid of needs that we all have, surviving even spiritually. How do we do that? Because a lot of us feel like we're hanging on a thread. I know I've felt that way recently too, is living day to day. How do we get out of that mindset?
Right. Very good. I'm looking forward to that. So. Yep. Hey, thanks a lot. And Monday Matters. So we'll see you next week.